Well, this is the second week in a row we're going to be doing a double feature, and this time around we should just take a minute just to come up with a title for this double feature. I think we're going to call it two movies that probably should have released in October, but for some reason the powers that be from their distribution houses said we're going to release them after Barbie and Oppenheimer, so nobody's going to see them, but they're not going to do bad considering what is expected of these movies in their release schedule. But again, maybe these two movies, a family-friendly horror movie and then a horror movie for all ages, should have released in October. It's Disney's Haunted Mansion and Raka Raka's Talk to Me, two drastically different films that released at the end of July. Why? I can't understand that. It's not that we have a stacked October either. I'd say the main competition, because Insidious already came out, I think The Nun 2 is going to come out before October as well, or after. Your main competition would be Five Nights at Freddy's, because even Saw X comes out in September, so why wouldn't you want to corner the market there? I guess A24 kind of needed to put something in the summer for their big release. So Talk to Me, sure. But Haunted Mansion, come on Disney. It's been a month since Dial of Destiny. You don't need this many movies this close together. It's very strange. But two movies, horror themed. Let's get into them. Let's start with Haunted Mansion. Disney's Haunted Mansion. A reboot to the franchise that existed with Eddie Murphy before, which is based on the ride at Disneyland. This movie cost $150 million. And right there is just a lot of worry for that, because you're practically filming in one location. A mansion. I know we'll build sets for different rooms and stuff, but we don't have a lot of different sets. When we're on location, on New Orleans or wherever they actually film this, yeah, you got a couple things there. When we're in the mansion, we have the main room, the walk-in area, the basement, and then a hallway. We don't have much to go off of. I don't even think we spend the night with somebody in a bedroom. They pretty much sleep in the living room the entire time. So I asked the question, why was this $150 million? It didn't need to be, and even so, didn't look like it. Oof, this is a bad movie. It's not the worst film that has released this year. I don't even think it's the worst Disney film that released this year. It is just so boring and so specific in how boring it is, where it's been a long time. It has been a long time since I've been in a theater, and I've clocked how long the time has passed. I'm really? It's only been 40 minutes? This thing drags from the beginning. I know how much time has passed because there was a person sitting in the row in front of me, not a packed house, but this guy just got the seat right in front of me, and he pulled out his phone. And I'm well, our movie started at that time, and it's only been 40 to 45 minutes, and I feel it's been an hour and a half, and I'm this is a 2-hour movie. How much more do we have to go through? A bunch, apparently. Whatever you think this movie is, I can guarantee you it's going to be longer and more excruciating than what you're thinking. This is just a drag. It's kind of fun when you think about some of the stuff it's doing. It's yeah, the ghosts look kind of cool, and I guess it is a haunted mansion. And if you are a fan of the ride, I guess this is a good this is enough of the ride, I guess. It brings it all in one place, but I'm the ride's shorter and arguably more fun. So, I don't know, it's weird. And maybe this is a little too insider baseball for a wider audience, because if you are a young person and your family has never taken a trip to Disneyland, or you don't live in California, can go there every day, do you give a shit about specific paintings hanging up, specific phrases sitting on the wall, what a gravestone says? Does that mean anything to you? I don't think it does. And maybe that's the big problem. Maybe if we tried something original, instead of just making the ride, which is an action-packed thrill adventure, into a blockbuster, you do something fun. It's not Pirates where you can, just surmount information just because of the pirates, It's a house. And that itself is kind of boring. So this movie is 2 hours long. You feel in the beginning, at the first arc, you're okay, yeah. So they're going to call a paranormal specialist. He's going to figure out the house problems. They're going to have a priest show up, or they're going to have a medium show up, and a historian of the town. Okay, that makes sense. They're going to figure out like the root of the problem. No. The problem is more expansive than you think. So they have to like go on like a side quest to like find a thing, and then they have to leave the mansion in like the crucial moment of the junction to another mansion to get like a piece of memorabilia from like the person that's controlling everything, and then they have to bring it back and like do that. That could be fun if it was handled better. The script is very bad. Like, it's very rough, and it doesn't leave anything fun to happen. You're like, yeah, okay, this is a lot of exposition, a lot of characters having beats that you understand and aren't very interested in, and I don't think anyone's really having fun. A lot of people feel like they're going through the motions. Because we are in a room of talented actors, going through the motions does sometimes look cool. Like, DeVito is very funny. Owen Wilson made a lot of the older men in the audience laugh. And then Jamie Lee Curtis does like a weird accent. So I'm like, that's cool. But Rosario Dawson, she is told what to do here, and she's doing it fine. I've seen this woman play way better roles in other movies. I'm sure she'll do a better performance this year in Ahsoka. Tiffany Haddish is Tiffany Haddish. I have no problem with her being Tiffany Haddish in this. It needed that because everyone else is pretty boring. What's the most egregious to me, and something that actually is just like, okay, I wish we had a better example of this, is Lakeith Stanfield leading a blockbuster. You see this guy in Atlanta. He is phenomenal. He is doing some incredible work on that show. You're just silently and quietly waiting for him to break out onto a larger format. And a lot of his co-stars from Atlanta have fallen down the Disney hole. You know, Zazie, I guess, not as much, but she went to Fox, which is now acquired by Disney. And now Glover's doing, like, the Lando show. But here he is. A chance to lead a big blockbuster, which is very exciting because he has the ability to do that. And you can feel the moments where he is playing a specific type of character. So he's not to be taken seriously, and you can feel him trying to do that, but the movie isn't giving you the chance to like let this be a full-on comedy. It still kind of wants to be scary. But if you just lean into the comedy a bit more, it would be a little bit better. He's a talented actor. What he's asked to do here is everything all at once. There are moments where he is flat out crying on screen. You're like, that's a talented actor. There's moments where he's doing slapstick, and I'm like, that's impressive, but tonally it's not this movie. And the entire time, he's got some really great hair and some really great costuming. And I'm like, this guy would be a great Dr. Voodoo for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then in the movie, he's playing with a Dr. Voodoo toy. Because if you look behind me, there's a kid in this movie that has a bunch of Marvel Legends. And I'm just watching the movie like, I have that one, I have that one. I know exactly what bin that one's in. It's like, that took me out of it a bit. What also took me out of it was Jared Leto as the Hatbox Ghost. Getting like the "and" credit, you're like, really? Jared Leto? I mean, if you want. I will say this, the Hatbox Ghost looked good. I think that design was really cool. The ghosts themselves look really cool. What they were doing in the story they were a part of, really stupid and lame and not that interesting at all. I don't even think like a kid would find this fun, you know? It doesn't do anything, like, really enjoyable. Like, there's a joke about Danny DeVito being, like, an old guy. I'm like, is that funny to a child who's never grown up watching DeVito movies? I don't know. It doesn't do anything right, you know? It doesn't look good for the budget it has. The script is very streamlined and uninspired, and boy, do you just feel that time. You feel that runtime. Because you're like, okay, yeah, that's the problem. We just solved that. And you're like, no, but there's actually, like, 100 other steps to solve that one thing. If this was just like a streamlined, 100 minutes, I think you got something special here. But you spent way too much time in the stuff you don't need to be in on. And some of the effects, I will say, there's some really cool like transitional shots that look really good. Other ones don't. They look bad. It's insane to me. Insane to me that the Madame Leota like head effect where she's in the ball, like the orb, I guess, looks worse than the ride. Like, how is that possible? I don't know. And thank you to Jamie Lee Curtis for committing to playing some ethnic character that I can't tell where you're from. You're like a gypsy, right? You couldn't tell because it's bad. Bad movie. Should have released in October, so I don't need to say anything else about this one. Haunted Mansion, a movie you're probably not going to see. Just go see Barbie or Oppenheimer again. Hell, Ninja Turtle comes out soon. Watch that. I'm going to give a 4 out of 10. And now we're going to switch over to Talk to Me. This is the Australian horror movie from Raka Raka. I think that's their name. They're a brother combination. They have done YouTube stuff before. I'm not super versed in their YouTube stuff. I have seen their faces pop up in other people's stuff that I follow. I know who they are. And it's more a little more like comedic sketches, if I'm not mistaken. They seem like really fun, really cool guys. And I do like the Australian sensibility of kind of like the comedy. So to see the horror translated there, that could be kind of fun. There's something to that. This was a packed house when I went to see it. And the most interesting thing about the packed house was, aside from me and maybe a father who was there of like his like teenage children and like an older couple, I was the only person over 25. This audience was specifically people under 25. And I'm like, that's kind of impressive. I guess because it is like alternative viewing to the Barbenheimer experience in a way. And then the movie starts, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I see where we're going here, and it's kind of fun, and there's some interesting stuff here. I would say, more than anything about Talk to Me, I see the machinations of some really fascinating filmmakers being made here. This movie, yeah, it's like your first big movie with like a larger budget than a YouTube skit, so yeah, you got like under $5 million to do something. You use that money effectively. It looks great. The effects, really good. The prosthetics and makeup, incredible. It looks fantastic. Some really stylistic directing choices and camera choices that I really enjoy. Script was fine, but when the whole thing came together, it wasn't that compelling. It is essentially an addiction story, which that's a very compelling thing to explore for a young creator to talk about that. When your audience seems to be primarily younger audience members, like that is something to talk about. And they do handle it in a mature enough way, but also in like a young person way, where there's like there's like the just interest and desire of like peer pressure and just having fun in the moment without thinking about the ramifications, which, yeah, I mean, that's cool. And when you like the setup to this movie, like the first half hour, just setting it up is very Hereditary. It's just very of that tone. We're like, yeah, we know something's about to go wrong. And that's a really cool tension to build up to. And the scary nature of everything is very impressive and cool. And the actual like concept itself, there's like this weird hand. It might be like a satanic hand of some sort. It might be from like a witch doctor. They don't know. If you put your hand inside this hand and say, talk to me, a spirit from the other world will come to you. And then you can let it enter your body and it will be in like the mortal plane again for a certain amount of time, as long as you're holding the hand. And what happens is like these kids use that to like make viral videos on like Snapchat and TikTok and stuff. And that's pretty fun. And then you like get like the sense of addiction where it's like, it's such a good feeling to let that happen to you that you keep wanting it to happen. And then like our main character becomes addicted to it. And then there's a very crucial turning point about 40 minutes in, maybe even less, maybe like half an hour in, where one of like the younger main characters gets involved in that, and then you're like, oh man, that young preteen is doing drugs and he's smoking and he's gonna die or something. And when that happens, that is, I think, the moment a lot of the tension leaves, because suddenly we can't really like undo that box. It's all gonna be downhill from here. Then it turns into like the like people coming together to try to fix this problem. And then things spiral out of control this way, and they just go bad this way. I heard a lot of reports about this being like the scariest movie of the year. And I don't get that. It's not that scary. There are a couple of very frightening moments. The first time where we see like the jump scare of holding the hand. And then like later on our main character is like in her bedroom and something's creeping in there. Those are the two moments there's genuine fright. The rest of it is just intense stuff happening. And that's kind of like the Hereditary thing and the Barbarian thing. It doesn't work as well as both of those, just because I don't think these directors are fully ready to like embrace that style and go all the way in on that. It goes into some very interesting places. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. This script is very fine. And that's fine. Like, not everything is going to like blow the door off, you know, like it's just servicing its purpose and it's doing okay. You do see the ending coming a mile away with like the whole, you know, like incestuous circle of the thing where, yeah, the thing you don't want to become is what you become, and blah blah blah, like the snake eating its own tail. You get that right away. And the acting is very fine. I do think you can tell these guys are comedians and like they do jokes, because the jokes in this feel like real people talking and just having like a sensibility towards each other, and that's really impressive. And just seeing like a kangaroo dying was just throwing me off for like my American Canadian gaze. I'm like, yeah, I guess there are animals that would be dead on the side of the road that I don't see normally. So that was kind of cool, but the script wasn't perfect. The directors still need to find their voice a little bit. And I say this as somebody who does YouTube stuff, and I'm always excited to see other talents from this medium get out there and make things. I'm very curious to see where their career is going to go, because there is one that could be had here. Hopefully we see it. I think this, more than anything, could set them up to potentially make an American film, because this is a film financed in Australia. And maybe they don't want to do that. And that's fine, because these actors are very Australian and they do a great job with that. I could see some divide between the overseas audience to like a native Australian audience, which, hey, it happens. But everyone did fine. It's not that scary, but it is kind of scary. It does use its R rating effectively. And again, the makeuping and prosthetics, they are phenomenal and are probably the best part of the movie. Aside from that, just a horror movie that is captivating a younger generation, maybe because it's like that generation's always on their phones and they understand like filming every moment at a party and stuff. That's not me. I've never done that. I have no desire to do that. I don't give in to peer pressure like that. So that part of it took me out, where I'm like, yeah, I'm not a young person who's going to be like talked into doing drugs or, like drinking at a party or that shit. But maybe you are. Maybe if you're like 20 years old, you're going to college, this is something that would happen to you. Maybe not to the extent of like summoning the dead, but hey, here's some weed, smoke it. Here's some Molly, take it. I don't know. Maybe that's the whole point. It doesn't effectively portray that, but hey, you never know. I will say this. It's better than Haunted Mansion. So talk to me. I'm going to give a 5 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and X, or Twitter. It's just Twitter. And I will catch you all in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.